The sky above Earth was calm, but the tension on the ground was thick enough to feel like a storm. The world had changed in the decades since humanity had faced one of the greatest betrayals in its history. Once Earth had trusted the Galactic Alliance, a coalition of alien civilizations that promised peace and protection. But that trust had been broken. Whole colonies were lost, cities destroyed, and families torn apart. Humanity had survived, but it had never forgotten. On a clear morning, the first sign of something unusual appeared in the sky. A sleek silver starship descended silently through the atmosphere, reflecting the sunlight like liquid metal. Its design was elegant, unlike the warships that had once rained destruction upon human worlds. People stopped and stared. News channels went live instantly, broadcasting images of the arrival. Inside the ship, Ambassador Lyra stood in the observation chamber. She was tall, graceful, and carried herself with quiet dignity. Her species had once been known as merciless, but her eyes showed something else: regret. She had been waiting a long time for this moment, and yet the weight of her mission pressed heavily on her. "I hope they listen," she whispered to herself, her voice soft and full of fear. "I hope it is not too late." Lyra's journey had been long. She had traveled across galaxies, leaving behind her people who still remembered the glory days of conquest. She had pleaded with her leaders to allow her to come to Earth, to speak for those who could not apologize themselves. Most of her peers had laughed or refused, but she had insisted, knowing that if Earth never heard her, the wound between their civilizations would never heal. When the ship touched down on a remote plateau far from major cities, military forces surrounded it immediately. Humans had not forgotten. Soldiers carried advanced weapons ready to respond to any threat. Helicopters circled overhead, and armored vehicles stood at the ready. Civilians, kept behind safety barriers, watched in silence. Curiosity mixed with anger, grief, and fear. On the ground, General Marcus Kane, one of the most respected leaders of Earth's defense forces, arrived to meet the alien. He was a tall man, strong and disciplined, with years of experience handling interstellar diplomacy and conflict. But even he could not hide the tension in his posture. As Lyra descended the ramp, her long silver cloak shimmering in the sunlight, she held her hands in a non-threatening gesture. Her voice was calm but firm. "I am Ambassador Lyra," she said. "I come with a message of apology and hope. I seek to speak with your leaders." The soldiers did not move, though their weapons remained lowered. Marcus studied her carefully. There was no immediate threat visible, but he knew better than to trust appearances. "Ambassador," Marcus said slowly, "you are aware of what your people did? Earth remembers. Every lost life. Every city burned. Why should we even listen?" Lyra bowed her head slightly, acknowledging the weight of her words. "I do not come to erase the past," she said. "No apology can do that. But I come to speak the truth of my generation. We were not the ones who betrayed you. Many of us fought to stop it. I wish to show you that we are not your enemies anymore." Her words caused murmurs among the soldiers and nearby civilians. Some whispered in disbelief. Others glared, remembering the destruction that had touched their families personally. Marcus looked at Lyra for a long moment. "Your words are empty unless they are proven by actions. Many have tried to apologize before and all failed. If your mission is sincere, you must understand that trust is earned, not given." Lyra nodded. "I understand. That is why I ask for the opportunity to meet your council, to speak with those who decide Earth's future. Nothing more. No demands, no conditions." The general remained silent, considering. Finally he spoke. "Very well. You may speak with the council. But know this, many will not forgive easily. Many will watch you closely, and one mistake could end this visit before it begins." Lyra's eyes glimmered with determination. She nodded again, stepping forward. "I accept. I will not fail, even if my own life is at risk." By the time Lyra was escorted toward the council chambers, the news had spread across the globe. Humanity watched with a mixture of hope, fear, and curiosity. Social media erupted with debates. Some argued that it was time to forgive, that perhaps not all of her people were guilty. Others insisted that the past could never be forgiven, and that the alien ambassador was a distraction, a potential threat. Inside the council chambers, Lyra faced a group of human leaders, military strategists, and diplomats. They were seated behind a long, polished table, their expressions serious. Marcus stood nearby, his arms crossed. Lyra bowed slightly once again. "Thank you for allowing me to speak." "I will not take much of your time. I know the pain my people caused. I know that words cannot heal it. But I wish to explain why I am here, and why I hope we can begin a path toward understanding." She paused, gathering her thoughts. "Decades ago, my people betrayed your trust. We attacked colonies, destroyed cities, and caused suffering beyond measure. Many of us disagreed, but we were silenced. I cannot undo what happened. I cannot bring back the lives lost. But I can tell you that we have changed. Not all of us were complicit. Some of us resisted in secret, trying to stop the war from within." A human historian spoke next, her voice steady but emotional. "You speak of change, yet the memories of destruction remain. We saw the colonies burn. We saw the innocent die. How can we trust that your words are true?" Lyra looked directly at her, her eyes filled with sincerity. "I cannot ask you to trust me blindly. I can only ask that you see the truth of my actions. I have risked everything to come here. I have left my people, my safety, to speak with you. If you wish, I can show you evidence of the resistance of those who fought to stop the war, even from within my own ranks." The room grew quiet. No one spoke for a moment. Every person present felt the weight of history pressing down upon them. They had survived a betrayal that could have ended humanity. Their lives, their families, their worlds had all been changed. Marcus spoke finally, his voice low but firm. "Evidence alone may not heal the wounds, but we will hear you. We will examine what you bring. Know this, Ambassador. Many will not forgive you no matter what you show, but some may choose to believe." Lyra nodded, a small smile of relief on her lips. "That is all I ask. Nothing more." The council adjourned briefly, giving the ambassador time to prepare the documents, hollow recordings, and testimonies from her people who had resisted the war. Outside, journalists and cameras waited, but Marcus instructed them to maintain a strict perimeter. For now, this was a private matter, not a spectacle. Later, as she prepared her evidence, Lyra walked to the observation window overlooking Earth. Cities spread beneath her, full of life, full of resilience. She had seen other worlds, but none had the strength and spirit she witnessed here. Humans had survived horrors and still thrived. It was both humbling and frightening. "I hope they see me for who I am," she whispered. "Not for what my ancestors did. I hope it is not too late." Back on Earth, the people continued to watch the sky. For the first time in decades, an alien came in peace. Not as a conqueror, not as a warrior, but as one who carried regret. Some dared to hope. Some braced for betrayal. But one thing was certain. The arrival of Ambassador Lyra had changed everything. As night fell, the lights of Earth shimmered, and in quiet homes, families spoke softly of the past and the uncertain future. They had survived once, and they would survive again. But trust would not come easily. Lyra, alone in her chamber, closed her eyes. The path ahead was dangerous, the reception uncertain, and the memories of the past heavy. Yet she felt a flicker of hope. Perhaps, just perhaps, the first step toward redemption had begun, and somewhere deep within the hearts of humans, the question lingered. Could one being's courage and honesty begin to heal centuries of pain? The answer would not come easily. But it would come, one choice, one action, and one test of trust at a time. Ambassador Lyra sat in the council chamber, surrounded by humans who had every right to hate her. The walls were lined with screens showing the ruins of colonies and destroyed cities. A silent reminder of the pain her species had caused. She could feel their eyes on her, full of doubt, anger, and grief. The air was thick with tension, yet she refused to show fear. She had come too far to turn back now. "I will speak plainly," Lyra began, her voice steady. "I understand your anger. I know that my people brought suffering to Earth. I cannot undo what was done. I can only tell you the truth of my generation, and what we have tried to do since." One of the human leaders, a woman named Director Selene, leaned forward. Her face was hard, her tone sharp. "Truth? You expect us to believe your truth after what your people did? Thousands of humans died because of your species. Cities burned. Families vanished. How can we ever trust anything you say?" Lyra's silver eyes reflected sorrow. "I do not expect blind trust. I expect you to hear me. I was not part of the war that destroyed your colonies. I was born after the betrayals. But I have spent my life studying the consequences of those actions, trying to help those who suffered, and seeking a way to make amends. A veteran, seated at the end of the table, slammed his fist lightly against it. Amends, you speak like it is simple. Do you know what we lost? Do you know what we carried for decades because of your people? Lyra bowed her head. I cannot imagine your pain. I can only acknowledge it. And I can try in my own way to ensure it never happens again. That is why I came here personally. The room fell silent. Her words were not dramatic or filled with promises. They were quiet, honest, and heavy with sincerity. Marcus Kane, standing in the corner, studied her closely. He had been part of the council's decision to allow her to speak. He could sense that she was genuine, yet he knew sincerity alone could not heal wounds. Director Cellini broke the silence. If you are sincere, show us proof. Show us that you are not the same as those who caused our pain. You say your people resisted the war from within. Where is the evidence? Lyra nodded, reaching for a small device at her side. She activated it, and a holographic display projected into the air. Images, videos, and logs from decades ago flickered before the humans' eyes. They saw rebel cells within her species attempting to stop the attacks. They saw secret communications, warnings sent to human worlds, and plans that were intercepted or ignored by the war leaders. A murmur ran through the council chamber. Many had never imagined such resistance existed. For years, humans had believed all aliens acted as one, united against them. But these records told a different story. Not every member of Lyra's species had been complicit. I see that you speak the truth, Cellini said slowly, her voice softening slightly. But these were isolated efforts. Most of your people still attacked us, destroyed our homes, and killed innocents. How do we know that your generation has truly changed? Lyra met her gaze steadily. I cannot speak for every individual, but I can speak for myself. I have dedicated my life to understanding your culture, learning your history, and advocating for peace. I came here at great personal risk, knowing that many of my own people would oppose me. That is how I proved my intentions, not through words, but through action. A young historian sitting quietly raised her hand. Ambassador, can you tell us why you came personally? Why not send a delegation or a letter? Why risk yourself? Lyra's gaze softened. Because words written on paper cannot show courage, remorse, or sincerity. A letter could be dismissed. A delegation could be suspected of trickery. I came because I wanted to show humanity that at least one of us is willing to face your judgment directly, without shield or weapon. I am willing to stand in front of those you lost and show that we are capable of change. The room was silent again. Some humans looked unconvinced, their memories too painful. Others were quietly impressed by her bravery. Marcus Kane stepped forward. Your courage is noted, Ambassador. But courage alone cannot undo decades of pain. If you wish to be heard, you must understand us fully. You must witness what was lost firsthand. Lyra inclined her head. I am ready. The council decided to take her on a tour of the destroyed colonies and memorials. They wanted her to see in the clearest terms the consequences of her species' actions. It was a rare opportunity. Humans rarely allowed outsiders to witness such devastation. The first stop was a city that had once been a thriving hub of trade and culture. Now only ruins remained. Buildings had collapsed, streets were cracked and empty, and the silence was deafening. Lyra stepped carefully among the rubble. Every step reminded her of the lives lost, the families that had been torn apart, the children who would never grow old. This is what we caused? She whispered softly. Her voice trembled, though she tried to hide it. She had studied the war from a distance, but seeing the reality was different. The pain was tangible. A veteran leading the tour spoke with a voice heavy with emotion. Yes, this was our home. This is where my parents and siblings lived. This is where I grew up. And this is what we never forgot. Lyra listened, her head bowed. She did not speak immediately. Words felt hollow in the presence of such loss. Instead, she observed, remembered, and felt the weight of history pressing down on her. The next stop was a memorial built to honor those who had died in the war. Names were etched into polished black stone, a testament to every life lost. Lyra traced her fingers over the names, silently offering her apology. She could not speak to each family personally, could not bring back the dead, but she could show respect and acknowledge the wrongs of the past. A human child approached the memorial with a parent, looking curiously at Lyra. Are you one of them? The child asked, fear and curiosity mixing in their voice. Lyra knelt slightly to meet the child's gaze. Yes, she said softly. I am from the species that hurt your world. But I am here to help now, to make sure nothing like this happens again." The child stared for a moment, unsure whether to trust her. Then, without speaking, the child walked away, leaving Lyra alone with her thoughts. That night, as they returned to the city, humans debated among themselves. Some believed the ambassador might truly be sincere, while others remained steadfast in their mistrust. Marcus Kane observed silently. He had been a soldier, a diplomat, and a leader. He knew that trust could not be given lightly, but he also recognized the courage in someone willing to face the past so openly. Lyra, alone in her quarters, reflected on the day. The sights she had witnessed had shaken her deeply, but they had also strengthened her resolve. She realized that understanding humanity's pain was just the first step. She would need to prove herself through actions, not words alone. A soft chime alerted her to a message. It was from a secret faction within her own species, the remnants of the old war leaders. They had learned of her mission and were not pleased. Threats were subtle but unmistakable. They warned her to return, to abandon Earth or face consequences. Lyra read the message, her eyes narrowing. "I will not turn back," she whispered. "Not now. Not ever." Meanwhile, back on Earth, the news of her presence continued to stir the public. Some citizens expressed hope, believing that perhaps a new era of cooperation could begin. Others were outraged, insisting that no alien could ever be trusted. The media buzzed with speculation, debates, and heated arguments. In the quiet of the night, Lyra stood by the window looking at Earth's lights glittering below. "They have every right to hate me," she murmured, "but I cannot change the past. I can only show them that the present and future can be different." Sleep came slowly. She dreamed of the past, of the war, the destruction, the lives lost. She woke with a determination stronger than ever. Tomorrow she would continue her efforts. She would show humanity that one individual could make a difference, even when an entire species had caused pain. And somewhere, deep within the council chamber, humans began to see it too. Not yet trust, but the faintest spark of hope that perhaps this ambassador was different, that perhaps she truly sought peace. The first step had been taken. The journey ahead would be long, filled with doubt, tests, and challenges. But for the first time in decades, the possibility of reconciliation seemed real. Lyra closed her eyes, whispering once more, "I hope they hear me. I hope it is not too late." The sun rose over the ruins of what had once been a thriving human colony. Ambassador Lyra stood silently, looking at the broken buildings and streets still marked by fire and collapse. Each shattered wall told a story of loss, and each silent corner echoed with memories of lives stolen. She had seen evidence, read reports, and studied histories, but being here, among the remnants of human homes, made the suffering real. "Every building, every street," said Commander Jalen, a veteran of Earth's defense forces walking beside her. "Every name on those memorials was a person, someone's parent, sibling, or child. You can't imagine what it felt like to live through it and survive." Lyra nodded, her gaze fixed on a fallen playground, the metal frame twisted and rusted. She bent down, touching the cold ground. "I can feel it," she said softly. "I can feel the weight of every loss. I wish we had done more to prevent it." Jalen did not respond immediately. He had learned long ago that words offered little comfort. Silence often spoke louder. Lyra's presence here, witnessing the past firsthand, was rare for someone of her species. Most would never see the consequences of their actions. She was different. They continued through the colony. Burnt-out vehicles, skeletal remains of buildings, and scorched earth made each step a reminder of the devastation. Civilians had rebuilt portions of the colony, but scars remained. Lyra walked slowly, taking in every detail, her heart heavy. She understood that no apology could repair what had been lost. She could only show respect, understanding, and a willingness to act differently in the future. At the center of the colony, a memorial rose, a tall, black monolith etched with thousands of names. Lyra approached it, bowing her head in quiet reverence. She traced her fingers along the etched letters, feeling the energy of the memories etched into stone. "This is what we caused," she whispered. "All this suffering, all this pain, because we were blind, greedy, and careless." Jalen watched her quietly. There was no arrogance in her voice, no attempt to justify the actions of her people, only acknowledgement and sorrow. It was a start, though he knew that humans measured change through action, not words. Suddenly, an alert sounded on Jalen's communicator. "Commander, we're detecting an unknown vessel approaching the colony. No identification, no communication." Lyra's eyes widened slightly. "Could it be?" Jalen shook his head. "We don't know yet. Could be rogue elements from your species. Some groups never accepted peace. They might see your presence here as a threat, or an opportunity." Before they could react, a small attack drone appeared above the colony. It moved quickly, targeting human defense structures. Jalen raised his hand, signaling humans to take cover. Lyra froze for a moment, then instinctively stepped forward. "I can help," she said. "I know their systems. I can override them." Jalen glanced at her, skeptical but with no other choice. "Do it." Lyra's hands moved swiftly over a portable device she carried. Her knowledge of her own species' technology allowed her to hack into the drone system. The machine hesitated, its weapons going offline. Moments later, it landed harmlessly on the ground. The humans around her stared, a mixture of awe and disbelief on their faces. A few soldiers whispered among themselves. She's actually helping." Lyra looked up at them, her voice steady but calm. "I did not cause the past, but I can stop further harm. I will prove that I am different, if only through action." Jalen nodded slowly. "You saved lives today. That counts for something." After the attack, the group continued their tour, now with a new understanding. Some humans began to see that Lyra was more than just an ambassador. She was someone willing to risk herself to prevent more suffering, even from rogue elements of her own species. Later, they reached a small museum dedicated to the history of the war. Artifacts, hollow recordings, and personal belongings of victims filled the space. Lyra walked slowly among them, studying each piece carefully. She paused at a photograph of a child holding a small stuffed toy, smiling despite the chaos around them. "I wish I could have protected them," she whispered. "I wish I could have prevented all of this." A young historian approached her quietly. "Ambassador, we know you weren't responsible, but seeing your sincerity here, it matters. Humans need to see that some of your people are capable of change." Lyra smiled faintly. "I hope they do. I hope it is not too late to begin healing." That evening, the group returned to the human city where Lyra was staying. Discussions within the council were intense. Some humans argued that she should be kept under strict surveillance, that no trust could be extended. Others believed that her actions today showed potential for reconciliation, that she deserved a chance to continue her mission. Marcus Kane sat quietly, listening to the debate. He had seen courage in soldiers and civilians alike, but he recognized a different kind of bravery in Lyra, one that required facing the consequences of the past without shield or weapon. As night fell, Lyra walked alone to the observation deck of the human city. She looked out at Earth's skyline, illuminated by thousands of lights. Her species had conquered many worlds, yet she had never seen resilience like this. Humans had survived betrayal, war, and destruction, yet they continued to thrive. "I underestimated them," she admitted softly. "Not their strength, but their memory, their spirit. They do not forget, and they do not forgive lightly. I must earn their trust one step at a time." Her communicator buzzed, breaking her thoughts. It was another message from the rogue faction of her species. This one was clearer, more threatening. They demanded her immediate return or hinted at consequences that could endanger both her and humans around her. Lyra's fingers tightened around the device. "I cannot leave," she said firmly. "Not now. Not when this is only the beginning." Meanwhile, in the human council chamber, discussions turned to strategy. The rogue faction posed a real threat. Some council members feared that Lyra's presence could provoke further attacks, yet others argued that removing her could destroy the fragile possibility of peace. Marcus spoke to the group. "We will not act rashly. Ambassador Lyra has proven she can help, and that she can stand against threats from her own people. But we will remain cautious. Trust must be earned, and threats must be neutralized." Lyra, in her quarters, prepared for the next day's visit to another memorial. She studied the plans carefully, determined to face whatever challenges lay ahead. She had seen the scars of humanity's past, and now she understood that witnessing it was not enough. She would need to act, and act wisely to show that change was possible. That night, she dreamed of the past, of warships descending, cities burning, and children crying. But in her dream, she also saw herself standing among humans, protecting them from harm, bridging the gap between species. She awoke with a renewed determination. The next morning, she joined Jalen and the council members on the second leg of the tour. This area had been an agricultural colony, once known for its vast fields and fertile lands. Now only patches of green remained among the burnt soil and collapsed structures. Lyra walked carefully, noting the devastation, but also the signs of human resilience. Farmers had begun rebuilding small plots and families had returned, planting seeds in memory of those lost. "This is what we fight for," Lyra said quietly. "This is why peace is important, so that life can continue even after destruction." Jalen glanced at her, a small nod of approval. "You're beginning to understand what it means to face the consequences of the past. Many wouldn't have come this far. You're showing courage beyond words." Lyra smiled faintly. "Courage without action is useless. I must prove myself every day in every choice I make." As they left the colony, Lyra could feel the weight of her mission pressing down on her. The past was heavy, the future uncertain, and the rogue faction still threatened from the shadows. But she also felt something new, a sense of purpose, a connection to a species that had survived unimaginable betrayal, and the faint spark of hope that one individual could make a difference. That evening, as Earth's lights shimmered beneath her, Lyra made a silent vow. She would do everything in her power to earn humanity's trust. She could not undo the past, but she could help shape a future where peace and understanding were possible. And somewhere deep in the hearts of humans, a spark of curiosity began to grow. Perhaps, just perhaps, this alien, an ambassador of regret, might not only seek forgiveness but also show them a new path forward. The journey of trust had only begun. The next day began early. The sun had barely risen, but Ambassador Lyra was already awake, preparing for the mission that the council had assigned her. Humans had agreed to a test, a chance for her to prove her sincerity through action. Rogue elements of her own species had been detected in a nearby sector. They had been sabotaging human supply lines, attacking settlements, and attempting to rekindle conflict. "Your mission," General Marcus Kane explained as he briefed the team, "is to work with human operatives to neutralize the threat. We need your knowledge of their systems, your understanding of their tactics. But make no mistake, this is dangerous. Failure could cost lives, and it could end all hope of reconciliation." Lyra listened carefully, absorbing every detail. Danger did not frighten her. Failure did. She had come too far to return without proving her intentions. The team assembled at the drop point. 5 human operatives, all highly trained, and Lyra. They boarded a sleek transport vessel that would take them near the rogue faction's hideout. As the engines roared to life, Lyra studied the humans silently. She knew trust would not be given freely. Some of them still viewed her as an enemy. She would have to earn their confidence not through words but through deeds. The journey was tense. No one spoke much. The silence was heavy with anticipation and suspicion. Lyra finally broke it. "I understand your doubts," she said softly. "I do not ask for trust yet, only for a chance to act alongside you. Watch what I do, not what I say." A young operative, Lieutenant Rhea, glanced at her skeptically. "We'll see if actions speak louder than words." "Don't make us regret this." Lyra inclined her head, acknowledging the warning. "I will not." When the vessel approached the rogue base, the team prepared for deployment. The terrain was harsh, rocky cliffs, narrow valleys, and thick fog. The perfect place for ambushes. Lyra's eyes scanned the area carefully, analyzing every shadow, every movement. Her species had trained her well in strategy, and now she could put that knowledge to use to protect humans, not attack them. The first challenge came almost immediately. A trap had been set along the path leading to the base, energy mines buried in the ground designed to detonate when stepped on. Lyra quickly spotted the faint energy signatures, warning the team. "Stop! Step carefully!" she shouted. "There are mines ahead. I can deactivate them from here." The humans froze, watching as she extended a portable device and manipulated the alien technology. Within moments, the mines went dark. The team moved forward, impressed despite themselves. "Not bad," muttered Lieutenant Rhea under her breath. Lyra ignored the comment, focusing on the path ahead. The rogue faction would not be idle. She knew they would expect an attack and had likely prepared defenses beyond the mines. As they approached the base, hidden gun turrets activated, targeting the team. Bullets and energy beams tore through the air, forcing the humans to dive for cover. Lyra reacted instinctively, using her knowledge of the enemy's technology to hack the turrets. The weapons powered down instantly, giving the humans a clear path forward. "You saved us," Jalen said, his voice full of reluctant admiration. "I'll admit I didn't think you'd actually help us in the field." Lyra shook her head. "I fight to protect, not to destroy. That is how I prove myself." Inside the base, the team faced further challenges. Locked doors, security drones, and rogue soldiers who had once been part of her species' war effort. Lyra led the humans efficiently, using her knowledge of alien tactics to anticipate ambushes and avoid traps. Every action she took earned cautious respect from the human operatives. They reached the central chamber of the rogue base, where a small fleet of ships was being prepared to attack nearby human colonies. The rogue leader, a fierce alien male, confronted them. "You dare interfere?" he growled. "She is with you?"
Traitor!
Lyra stepped forward, calm but resolute. "I am no traitor to peace. I stand here to prevent more bloodshed, even if it means opposing my own people." The rogue leader sneered, drawing a weapon. The humans braced for battle. Lyra acted first, using a combination of strategy and technology to disable the weapon and neutralize the rogue leader's defenses. A short skirmish ensued, but thanks to her guidance, the humans were able to capture the rogue faction without loss of life. The mission complete. The team returned to Earth with evidence of the rogue faction's plans. The Council reviewed the intelligence, confirming that the threat had been neutralized. Lyra had risked herself, faced her own species' betrayal, and worked seamlessly with humans. For the first time, many in the Council began to see her not just as an alien diplomat, but as a person willing to act for the good of humanity. That evening, the team gathered to debrief. Lieutenant Rhea, who had been most skeptical, finally spoke. "I have to admit, I didn't think you'd do it. You proved yourself. You could have walked away, but you stayed. You helped us." Lyra nodded quietly. "I will continue to help as long as it is needed. My mission is not finished. Trust must be earned, not demanded." Jalen placed a hand on her shoulder. "You've come far in a short time. The humans who watched you today saw courage, strategy, and sincerity. That counts for something." Lyra allowed herself a small smile. She knew that earning humanity's trust would not happen overnight, but this mission had shown that change was possible. Her actions had spoken louder than any apology. That night she returned to her quarters, exhausted but determined. She reviewed the events of the day, analyzing every decision, every success, and every moment of doubt. She realized that her path forward would require constant vigilance, courage, and understanding of humans' unique spirit. A message arrived from the rogue faction's remnants. Threats were more aggressive, warning her that her interference would not be forgotten. But Lyra did not waver. She knew that fear would not guide her actions. Courage and purpose would. The next morning, she stood again on the observation deck, looking at Earth's cities sparkling under the rising sun. "One mission, one action at a time," she whispered. "I will continue to prove that we can change. That peace is possible." Meanwhile, the humans began to discuss her presence differently. Some soldiers and council members who had doubted her earlier now spoke of her with cautious respect. It was still too soon for full trust, but a door had been opened. Marcus Kane met with Lyra privately. "You've done well." Today, humans saw more than words. They saw action, bravery, and understanding. That matters. But be careful. There are still those who will test you, and not all will be as forgiving. Lyra nodded. "I am ready. I cannot control others' reactions, but I can control my own actions. That is all I have to offer." Her determination was clear. She had faced rogue elements, guided humans through danger, and protected lives. Each step strengthened her credibility and showed humanity that she was sincere. The mission had tested her trustworthiness, and she had passed. Yet even in success, Lyra felt the weight of the past pressing on her. She knew that many humans still remembered betrayal, loss, and pain. True forgiveness would not come quickly, and proving herself once was not enough. The story of her mission would spread, quietly at first, then more widely. Civilians and veterans alike would hear of the ambassador who risked her life to save humans from her own people's rogue elements. Some would remain skeptical, but others would feel the spark of hope that perhaps not all aliens were enemies. Lyra looked at the stars that evening, silently promising that she would continue her efforts. She had survived tests of courage and strategy, but the true challenge lay ahead, earning the hearts and trust of those who had suffered most. She whispered into the night, "I will not fail. I will not turn away. I will show humanity that we can be different, that we can change. One act, one choice, one step at a time. And somewhere deep within the council chamber, humans began to sense the possibility that an alien could truly stand beside them, not as a conqueror but as a protector, an ally, and perhaps in time, a friend. The journey of reconciliation continued. The road was long, dangerous, and uncertain, but for the first time, hope shone through the darkness. The council chamber was quiet as Ambassador Lyra entered. Today was different from any day she had faced on Earth. Today, humanity would see not just her words or actions, but her heart. After the mission to stop the rogue faction, she had earned cautious respect. Yet she knew that true trust and forgiveness could not be rushed. They would need time. They would need understanding. The humans present were a mixture of council members, veterans, and civilians who had suffered loss. They had traveled from cities, towns, and colonies to witness this meeting. Some watched with hope, some with suspicion, and some with pain still fresh in their hearts. The memories of betrayal ran deep, and Lyra understood that no gesture would erase them entirely. Lyra stepped forward, bowing slightly in respect. "Thank you for allowing me to speak once more," she said softly. "I know words cannot undo the past. They cannot bring back those who were lost, nor erase the suffering that your people endured. But I hope to show you that change is possible, and that peace can exist between our species." She paused, allowing the weight of her words to settle. The room was silent. The only sound, the faint hum of life support systems and distant city noises filtering in through the windows. "Over the past days," Lyra continued, "I have seen the consequences of my species' actions with my own eyes. I have walked among ruins, witnessed the pain, and met those who survived the attacks. I have faced threats from my own people, who refuse to change, and yet I stand here willing to protect humans against even them." A veteran raised his voice, a mix of frustration and curiosity. "You risked yourself once. But how can we know this isn't just another trick? How can we be sure your actions will continue, and that your species won't betray us again?" Lyra's eyes met his with calm determination. "You cannot know for certain. Trust is never guaranteed. It is earned through consistent action. I do not ask for trust without proof. I only ask for the chance to show that my intentions are sincere, and that I will continue to act for peace, for your people, and for a future where our species can coexist." The historian, who had accompanied Lyra on the tours of ruined colonies, spoke next. "Ambassador, your courage and guidance have already made a difference. The humans who witnessed your mission to stop the rogue faction saw someone willing to risk themselves for us. That counts for something. It shows your sincerity." Lyra inclined her head in acknowledgement. "It is not enough. I must continue to act, to show that I am committed, that we are capable of change. Actions speak louder than words, and I will continue to prove it every day." The council deliberated quietly for a moment. Marcus Kane finally stood, his voice firm but respectful. "Ambassador Lyra, humans have long memories. Betrayal left scars that may never fully heal. But what you have done cannot be ignored. You acted with courage, foresight, and sincerity. Today we recognize your efforts." Lyra felt a small spark of relief. Recognition was not forgiveness, but it was a start. "Thank you, General Kane. That is all I ask, that my actions be seen for what they are." The council then decided to hold a symbolic ceremony to honor both the victims of past conflicts and the possibility of a better future. The memorial would be rebuilt with both humans and alien representatives contributing. It would serve as a reminder that the past cannot be erased, but the present could shape a new future. The day of the ceremony arrived. People gathered near the memorial, which now stood tall and gleaming. Ambassador Lyra walked alongside humans, veterans, and children, who had never known the war but felt its echoes through stories and history. Together they approached the monument, each carrying a small token of remembrance, a flower, a stone, a personal message etched into the new walls. Lyra placed a single silver flower at the base of the monument. Her hands trembled slightly, but her posture remained steady. She spoke softly, yet clearly enough for all present to hear. "I cannot undo the past," she said. "I cannot bring back the lives lost, nor can I erase the pain that remains. But we can honor those who suffered, and we can choose to act differently, to protect, to preserve, and to build a future free from betrayal. That is what I vow to do. Not for words, not for promises, but for action and for hope." A hush fell over the crowd. The sincerity in her voice, the humility in her posture, and the weight of her actions over the past days moved many. Some veterans wiped tears from their eyes, and children looked up at her with curiosity and cautious hope. Marcus Kane stepped forward, addressing the crowd. Today, we recognize not only the pain of our past, but also the courage it takes to face it and try to make things right. Ambassador Lyra has shown that even those from a species that once caused us great harm can act with honor and courage. We will watch closely, but we also acknowledge the possibility of a new beginning. Lyra listened, absorbing every word. She understood that true forgiveness might take years, even generations. But this ceremony, this act of recognition, was a step forward. She could not change history, but she could help write the next chapter. After the ceremony, people mingled around the memorial. Some spoke quietly to one another, sharing memories and reflections. Some approached Lyra, offering small gestures of acceptance, a nod, a handshake, a word of thanks. Each act, though small, was a building block for trust. Lyra found herself standing beside the child she had met in the ruined colony. The child handed her a small hand-carved stone in the shape of a star. "This is for you," the child said simply. "For helping us." Lyra accepted it with a gentle smile. "Thank you. I will keep it always as a reminder of why I am here." As the sun set, painting the sky in shades of gold and orange, Lyra stood at the memorial, looking at Earth's cities sparkling below. She had faced danger, witnessed the pain of the past, and acted courageously to protect humanity. She had earned recognition and respect, though forgiveness was still a distant goal. A communicator buzzed in her pocket. It was a message from her homeworld. The leaders who opposed her mission demanded her return and warned of consequences. She read the message calmly, folding it and setting it aside. "No," she whispered to herself. "I cannot turn back now. This is only the beginning. I will stay. I will continue to act. I will continue to earn trust." Back in the council chamber, humans debated quietly but positively. They discussed future collaborations, monitoring rogue factions, and sharing technology that could protect both species. Slowly, the idea of cooperation and coexistence began to take shape. Marcus Kane approached Lyra privately. "You've done more than most could have imagined," he said. "Humans are cautious by nature. But today you've proven that one individual can make a difference. You've shown that actions can speak louder than history's mistakes." Lyra nodded, her silver eyes reflecting determination and hope. "I will continue. I cannot change the past, but I can influence the future, and I will not stop until humans see that we can be different." As night fell fully, the city lights glimmered like stars on the ground. Lyra walked through the streets quietly, observing humans going about their lives. Children played, families laughed, and markets buzzed with energy. Life went on, resilient and unbroken despite the shadows of history. In her heart, she felt the faintest spark of hope. Perhaps one day humanity could forgive, not for her alone, but for the possibility of a peaceful future between their worlds. She could not demand it, but she could earn it, one act at a time. The story of reconciliation was just beginning. Lyra knew the path ahead would be long, filled with challenges, doubts, and tests of courage. But she also knew that hope, courage, and consistent action could shape a future where humans and aliens could coexist, respect one another, and prevent the tragedies of the past from repeating. Standing atop a quiet hill overlooking the city, Lyra whispered to herself, "I cannot undo what has been done, but I can stand here today and show that the future can be different. One choice, one action, one step at a time." Somewhere in the crowd, humans watched her, sensing her sincerity. Some would continue to doubt, some would remain cautious, but others felt a spark of belief. A belief that even in a galaxy that had known betrayal, courage and honesty could create a new path. Lyra turned her gaze to the stars, silently promising herself and humanity that she would continue her mission. Earth had not forgotten the past, but perhaps together, they could shape a future that would be remembered for hope, courage, and understanding. The first seeds of trust had been planted. The journey toward reconciliation had begun, and for the first time in decades, humanity could imagine a future where forgiveness was possible, not forced, not forgotten, but earned and lived through actions.